Pepsi just a carbonated soft drink or a massive naval unit killing society with sugary witchcraft? Join me, TyrelVA, as I navigate the conspiracies behind this divisive cola. A brief history lesson. Pepsi was originally called Brad's Drink after a man named Caleb called it that. Why did a man named Caleb call his drink Brad? Well, because his last name was Bradham. I still don't get it. I don't know why you wouldn't just call it Caleb's drink. But the year was 1893, and 5 years after that, they changed the name to Pepsi Cola, after the Greek word dyspepsia, meaning indigestion. Caleb worked as a pharmacist, so his original idea was to make a drink that was tasty and good for your digestive situation and would give you a boost in energy. So it wasn't originally, I don't think Coke was either. Neither of the colas were originally made to be consumed as they were. They were like digestive syrups for your body. In 1904, Pepsi Cola was out of the pharmacy and into warehouses and into 6-ounce bottles. It's when it started really becoming a competitor for the cola situation. And MR.VA Ali, he was the first sponsor. He was a bicyclist. I don't really know when cars were invented yet, but he was a bicyclist first, and then when cars started becoming more popular, became a race car driver for that, which racing was way different back then because cars were just created. He was the first person to go 60 miles an hour, so imagine that for racing vehicles. He was also, his name was synonymous with speed and going fast. Not as MR.VA Ali, I believe. It was Barney Oldfield. I'm not sure which versions of that name was synonymous with speed or if people just use them either which way. But he was a great first sponsor. In 1923, however, Pepsi Cola filed for bankruptcy due to sugar price fluctuations in World War II, and eventually it fell into the hands of Royce C. McGargle, who I believe tried to sell it to Coca-Cola 2 to 3 times before eventually selling it to Charles Guth in 1931. Guth reformulated and revised Pepsi, gave it a total makeover, and it once again became a good competitor for the Cola Wars, and pretty much went on from there. He left at 1939, but as we know, Pepsi is still here and around. That brings us to the conspiracies. Let me put this down and grab you a can here. So this is the newest revision of it, but the conspiracies go along with it. They have not changed. In fact, they've also evolved to fit whatever has changed in the can. So the logo here, this was $1 million to create. It was all over Twitter and all of this, making noise about how much it cost. Mainly the noise of why it cost that much is because it went from straight lines to wavy lines. So it wasn't really it was created as much as someone just looked at it through a different lens and then asked for $1 million. But they say that they didn't just ask for $1 million. They say they created a logo using the golden ratio and sun radiation patterns a little bit of the Mona Lisa, Pythagoras theorem, the magnetic fields of the Earth. Obviously, there's some American colors in there. I think they just said a bunch of like random stuff, and that's probably what the real conspiracy is that it means none of that stuff and it's just wavy lines. But the actual conspiracies for these things are, when it was straight lines, they said it looked like, where's that symbol? They said it looked like Horus. Horus's eye, the eye of Horus. I looked for that, I could not see it, but now that it's a wavy line, it supposedly looks like a snake's eye, or a serpent's eye, to be more precise, which I don't, maybe kind of. That's one of the more far-fetched theories, because it's, well, they're going for this whole, like, when I say they, I mean conspiracy theorists, but they're all different. Each conspiracy has different followers, so that they is also not used correctly. But it's going for this like religious, apocalyptic, devilish 666 angle for this. The serpent's eye being somehow related to the devil's eye, devil being a serpent. And the other part of this is that when you flip it upside down, it now spells, well, this is backwards for me, maybe just because my phone is backwards, but it's supposed to spell is dead, which means nothing to me. Even if that was the case of what it meant, I don't see that, because that's not how an I works, or an E, or how you spell dead. But the other part of the logo, as far as it also saying is dead, is some people have viewed it as Republicans and Democrats and the split between them growing, and basically saying like the government is dead inside that symbolism. I don't know, that seems a little far-fetched as well, but I like that more than a serpent's eye, I suppose. Of course, people gotta sit right next to me and listen to my video now. Ooh. Okay. Oh, also, apparently with this new symbolism, I should have researched, out of all the research I've been doing, I should have checked to see if these are related to the earbuds in any way, if the companies have somehow worked together. But the other conspiracy is that the P's here in this look like earbuds, and they're somehow telling you to buy some earbuds. Maybe I could kind of go for that. Scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. Marketing skills. The other conspiracy is that it's an acronym. This is another like governmental conspiracy. It's an acronym for Pay Every Pence to Save Israel. Pence being a penny somewhere else, not here. Probably in Israel, I imagine. But the only problem with that one is Pepsi was created way before Israel became its own nation, or became a thing. So they would have had to have some, I mean, I guess that's not impossible, but they would have had some futuristic planning, and that goes down another different conspiracy. But we'll just leave it to the ones other people have created before I start adding on to them. This one actually is not a conspiracy. This is just a really fun fact that is, I think, a lot more fun than all the conspiracies, so I'm throwing it in here. But In 1975, that can't be right. In 1959, yes. Okay, in 1959, Pepsi was doing trades with the Soviet Union. American General was trying to like show off to the Soviet Union and get them to like really like our product so that they would start doing trading with us. And they did that via Nixon throwing this like 450 marketing thing, with Pepsi being one of the brands he was trying to highly suggest. So his goal was to make sure that this president of the Soviet Union, I don't know how Soviet Unions work, but the guy that was running it, I had his name written somewhere, Nikita Khrushchev. Nixon's job was to get a Pepsi in that guy's hand first thing in the morning so that he would just taste it and feel like it was awesome. And he did. Both Nixon did what he was supposed to do, and Nikita did think it was awesome. So Pepsi started working with the Soviet Union, but I don't know why Nixon would have started this whole thing without having an idea of how to trade, because the money wasn't ready to be traded back and forth yet. So Pepsi started trading in vodka for however much Pepsi, they would get however much vodka. And that worked for a while, except Russians wanted more Pepsi than Americans wanted vodka. Surprise. And so they had to come up with another way to do it. And in 1989, the Soviet Union gave Pepsi 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate. That's a warship, by the way. A frigate's like a giant warship that you land airplanes on. And what else did they give them? And a destroyer, which in itself, the name destroyer is, why would you give that to a Pepsi company? That made Pepsi the 7th largest navy in the world. That's the end of that part. It's just the 7th largest in the world. That's outrageous. And kind of cool, but not a conspiracy. That was all true right there. Here's a little bit of a was conspiracy, did not become conspiracy, and now is all just kind of hurtful. But there was a sugar fat war in the 80s that sugar's to blame a lot for obesity, we know now, but back in the 80s when this guy was trying to explain that sugar was the thing, a lot of these companies, including Pepsi, whose main thing is like all this sugar, didn't want that to hurt them, so they helped endorse, I was gonna say fat shaming, but they helped endorse shaming, putting the blame on fat eating rather than sugar eating. So like lots of meaty things or carbohydrates or something like that, whatever makes fat. And we're saying that all these sugars are okay, so that like put this boost in like health problems, and you can see the increase. It was like, I have written down, in the 50s 12% of population was obese. In the 80s 15%, so it only had gone up 3% since then. And then in the 2000, 20 years later, is 35%, over double. And then who knows what it is now, right? Oh, now it's 1/3. I know what it is. Who knows what it is? I wrote it down. Sorry, I'm also like a little sick and losing my voice, which I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, because I had a lot to talk about. There was one more conspiracy, and that was that there are small nanobites somewhere in here. Obviously, they wouldn't put it in the ingredients, but you drink it, they go through your blood system and make it to your brain and sit there and just lay dormant, I guess. And when we go into a World War III kind of situation, and we need to draft people and we aren't able to do that, the president, the one that we have now, hopefully not, would push a button under his desk, that big red button that everyone knows is there, and that would send off a signal activating these nanobites and essentially making everyone like a soldier, and that's why they call it Generation Next. I don't know if they don't use that logo anymore. Actually, oh gosh, I almost forgot this other conspiracy. You're gonna love this one. I should be giving credit to some of these people. Most of the stuff I found on Wikipedia, the facts and stuff, is all Wikipedia things. But this one I made sure to write their information down because I have not heard this before. So check out vastabrumt.com just to give credit where credit is due. But they have come up with this conspiracy that because this guy worked at a pharmacy, and this is where he created it, pharmacy is another word for pharmacia, which means sorceress in Greek, sorceryness in Greek, leading him to think that Pepsi's original formula was an alchemy mix. And he has kept this formula. I don't know how he would have, since it's changed hands so many times, but the formula itself is supposed to represent, and just merely by representing, it has this innate ability in it, the putrefaction and decomposition of the soul somehow. I'm probably messing all this up. It was really heavy to read, lots of big words used for alchemy and old world things that I couldn't look up everything. The little things I did look up though was the base of this Pepsi is negrido, which is a word meaning the basic substance that everything is created out of. And the way you get that is, well, there's many ways, but I think the main way is to burn it or boil it down into this like black form, which is what he's saying the syrup is of the Pepsi. And so then you could drink this and use the energy. He's also kind of saying it's like this essence of God. So using this energy to activate or control your day, or, I mean, that sounds like a really big advertisement. Full disclosure, I myself haven't had, I may have accidentally had Pepsi like at a restaurant when you ask for a Coke and they hand you the wrong thing because they're rude. But I haven't deliberately had a Pepsi since probably middle school. Just because, probably because of a conspiracy, and then now it's just because I don't like the taste. Every time I get a Coke, my mom drank Coke a lot, so it might have been that also. We just always had Coke in the house. Either way, I still don't drink Pepsi, don't like it, never asked for it, but I thought this would be a fun conspiracy to do because I wouldn't really be biased, and I was really surprised of how much information I had on here. So, there we have Pepsi conspiracies, quite a slew of them. Didn't even count them out, maybe 5, 6. Some of them were facts. But hopefully that will help you out the next time you're sipping on a nice glass of carbonated cola. I will see you later. This is Tyrel VA signing off. Bye.